Hi, I'm Abby, I have a lot of records, and this is Vinyl Monday. I have been filming for less than 30 seconds, and there's already a goddamn airplane overhead. When will I be free? So welcome back, or welcome if this is your first time here. Vinyl Monday is the series where once a week I sit down and just talk about albums that I love. If 20-minute deep dive episodes aren't your thing, don't worry. I also do Vinyl Monday in 60 seconds here on this channel, as well as over on my Instagram. You guys, I have had so much new music to listen to. The past couple days, it has been bonkers. Between listening to this album for the video, I'm crash producing this, which I hate doing, but schedule's right. So I've been listening to this album all week, as well as 2 new releases as of yesterday. Yeah, wow, it feels like 2 days already because I stayed up till midnight for them. I'm pretty happy when there's new albums from both Taylor Swift and Arctic Monkeys, or as I affectionately call them, Mom and Dad. I'm still bejeweled when I walk in the room. I can still make the whole place shimmer. Oh my god, and the 1975 dropped last week. 2014 Me is Living. As chaotic as all of this new listening has been, I did, of course, have the time to bring you this week's record by 4 gentlemen and 1 great broad. This is Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company. Congrats to those who guessed this one. Remember, if you want a hint, all you have to do is check out my community tab. I do lots of fun stuff over there. I post hints for the next episode. I run polls. I post memes. We keep a running counter of our swear. It's a fun time over there. Let's take the plastic off. All right, so my copy is a repress, and it is in stereo. These are both very important distinctions. Why? Because any original copy of this album is gonna run you a pretty good chunk of change, especially the mono pressings. Oh my god, good luck finding a mono original Cheap Thrills for under $100, probably more. This is one of 2 copies I was given. I gave my second copy to my best friend from college, who gave it to her sister, so it's kind of like sisterhood of the traveling Big Brother and the Holding Company album. It's said that the original title for this album was Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills, but Columbia would have shot this down almost immediately. At least they would have shot this down if it were true. Drummer Dave Getz has stated that the original title being Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills is a rumor. I'd heard the rumor as well, but the Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills album title was eventually used. It was used for the Super Deluxe version of this record. The original idea for this cover art was all of the band members together in bed. This was Janis's idea, but that didn't work. Richard Avedon, something like that, took shots for the cover as well, but those didn't work either. So we have this gorgeous illustration by Robert Crumb as the album art. He did this in his signature cartoon strip style. He also did art for Janis's Cosmic Blues record. He did the lettering on the shrink wrap. Each of these panels represents a different track on the album, and that is because this illustration that we see on the front cover was originally meant for the back cover, but the band preferred this illustration to the one that Crumb drew up for the cover art. Crumb sketched this up backstage at a Big Brother show at the Carousel Ballroom in San Francisco. Apparently he didn't like their music much, but he liked them enough to give them this beautiful art. So how do I know my copy is a repress and not an original? Robert Crumb's name is right here in this balloon. This was a call by the record label, not by the artist. He didn't want his signature anywhere on this, I guess to avoid some kind of Andy Warhol Velvet Underground deal. You know what? I respect it. Originally, this balloon had the text, Harry Krishner D. Getz. This was in reference to a song called Harry, like the Hare Krishnas, an instrumental track that was cut from the final track listing at the behest of exec Clive Davis. The band wasn't too much a fan of this call. We'll get to whatever implications that has a little later on. Opening up the gatefold, we have the track listing over here and a gorgeous photograph of Big Brother on stage, which was taken by Elliot Landy. And on the back, we have a shot of Just Janis by Thomas Weir. This is one of the iconic photos of Janis Joplin, besides her sitting on top of her Rolls Royce, which I have referenced right here with this whole outfit situation. I love dressing for a theme. At this time, the Big Brother lineup consisted of Sam Andrew on guitar, backing vocals, and the bass on Oh Sweet Mary, James Gurley on lead guitar, Peter Albin on bass, the acoustic guitar on Turtle Blues, as well as the lead guitar on Oh Sweet Mary, Dave Getz on drums, and the incomparable Janis Joplin serving as lead singer. This record was produced by John Simon, who also played the piano on Turtle Blues. Now let's get into the recording / production, or the can of worms that is the production of Cheap Thrills. This is billed as a live album. You see right in this illustration right here, live material recorded at Bill Graham's Fillmore Auditorium. Yeah, what if I told you this isn't a live album at all? So usually in the 60s, when live albums happened, they kind of did it like Goodbye Cream, in which one side of the record, or one disc of it, was live and everything else was in the studio. But Cheap Thrills, it was all studio material except for one song. The audience noises are totally edited in, even in combination of the two and I Need a Man to Love Me, which are often said to be two other live tracks. It was just the audience introduction and audience noises that are live. But Cheap Thrills, yeah, all studio material except for one song, Ball and Chain, which was recorded live at the Winterland Ballroom. Also not recorded at the Fillmore. So how / why is this a live album? There are a few answers, and none of them are really clear-cut. From what I've gathered, there was a lot of hype surrounding Big Brother as a really strong live group. They got on the map after their performance at Monterey Pop, and the hype only grew after the self-titled record. However, it's important to remember that in the grander scheme of things, Big Brother is still a pretty niche group. This is the counterculture. They weren't really mainstream icons to the degree at which we're familiar with today until Cheap Thrills. Now, when you're known as a really strong live group, it's a good idea to put out a live album. At this point, Big Brother's next record is one of the most hotly anticipated albums of 1968. If you're looking at, a grander scheme of things into the mainstream, that's probably the Beatles' White Album, but for this crowd, it is absolutely this record. So live recordings were made, but for one reason or another, the album that we got is only live. I can't find a clear-cut, straight answer as to why, so I'm just gonna sock out some ideas from a logistical standpoint. The producer, John Simon, was likely the one to ixnay the fully live Cheap Thrills, either for the fidelity of the live recordings or for the ability to market this to the label and the general public. He was the producer, he was the one with the power to do that, and it's worth noting that Big Brother wasn't really jiving with Simon. He was very, he was from a record label, a big record label, you know? He's a lot more corporate and buttoned up than any of these musicians are gonna be. But it's also worth noting that Janis Joplin was Janis Joplin's own toughest critic. If live recordings were deemed not up to par, it could have been because Janis wasn't satisfied with her vocal performance. This would be in character for her. She did not like her Woodstock performance much, and her opinion had enough sway that her estate had her performance omitted from the Woodstock film, and you don't hear it on Volume 1 of the Woodstock soundtrack. Since a fully live Cheap Thrills wasn't happening for one reason or another, the band hopped into the studio to lay down the tracks that they had in their set lists. And audience noises like chatter, applause, glass breaking, coughing was recorded in the studio as well and spliced into their songs. It says on the jacket that it's live at the Fillmore because, well, that was the plan. I mean, think about it. Robert Crumb would have had a deadline to hand in this album art. His deadline clearly came before Cheap Thrills was fully ironed out. And Dave Getz also said that the album art was close to last in the process of assembling this album. Late enough that Harry Krishner made it onto the early presses. Live or live, it's all packaged up on the same album, and the track listing goes as follows. Opening up side A, you have combination of the two, written by Sam Andrew. This is followed by I Need a Man to Love, written by Sam Andrew and Janis Joplin. This is followed by Summertime, a standard written by George Gershwin. Yes, the Rhapsody in Blue George Gershwin, at least this is what I knew him from. Others might know him from the standards. And side A is closed out with Piece of My Heart, which is a cover. We are getting into this very soon, don't you worry. Side B opens up with Turtle Blues, written by Janis, followed by Oh Sweet Mary, a composition credited to all of Big Brother and the Holding Company, and the album closes with Ball and Chain, written by Big Mama Thornton. Yeah, the standard release of Cheap Thrills only has 7 songs. That is just 37 minutes of material. Other versions include 2 songs left on the cutting room floor, Roadblock and Flower in the Sun. You'll also get 2 live tracks, which is 200% more than you get on the original Cheap Thrills, which was advertised as a live album. They're called Catch Me Daddy and Magic of Love, and these were recorded live at the Grandy Ballroom. Hey, wait a minute! Speaking of my favorite 5 boys from Detroit, fun fact, Janis and Fred Smith had a thing. Yeah, I bet you didn't know that. I learned about that in Please Kill Me, essential reading in my opinion. Oh my god, I love this book because it's basically the godmothers and fathers of punk music all gossiping about each other. Of course, everyone's gonna remember this history differently, so you get a lot of different points of view in this book and quite a few nuggets of information that you might not get otherwise. Highly recommend. So Cheap Thrills was released in August of 1968, and the smash hit was, well, I think you all know what the smash hit was. Yes, Piece of My Heart is a cover. It was originally performed by Irma Franklin, Aretha Franklin's sister, and released in the summer of 1967. Her version peaked at number 10 on the Billboard R&B charts. One of the writers of this song, Burt Burns, passed at the end of that year, so he never got to hear anybody else's recording. He only knew Irma's. And aside from another run in the charts in '92, Irma's Piece of My Heart didn't really catch on outside of the devoted R&B/soul circle, which is a real shame. Irma's version is great. It became sort of a nugget for R&B and blues fans to latch onto, fans like Janis Joplin. The Big Brother version was arranged by Sam Andrew, and the length is nearly double the original. Thank the guitar solos for that. It was released a year after the original, and when Irma heard it, she almost didn't recognize her own song. That's because Sam's arrangement was so different. And you know what? That's how you do it. If you're gonna blow the original version out of the water, whether you intend to or not, I don't think Big Brother ever thought their version of Piece of My Heart would eclipse the popularity of the original. You gotta change up that arrangement, and Sam did a pretty good job of that. It was changed to suit Janis's strengths as a singer, and it's worth noting the lyrics that were changed from the original to this one. Irma sings, "But with all the love I give ya, it's never enough, and so come on, take another little piece of my heart." Janis sings, "And each time I tell myself I think I've had enough, and I want you to come on, take another little piece of my heart." When you take the delivery into account, this totally changes the meaning of the song. Irma is leaving her man behind for good, and Janis can't quit him. The B-side to the Big Brother version was Summertime. Another B-side was Turtle Blues. I have one with Cosmic Blues on the B-side. People just could not stop buying this song, so I guess they were just slapping anything on the B-side. The Janis version of Piece of My Heart peaked at number 12 on the Billboard charts, where Irma's version, all of a year earlier, couldn't break the top 40. This version's chart success cemented Piece of My Heart in and of itself as a standard. Dusty Springfield released her version after Janis's, and a slew of others have followed. Cheap Thrills was Big Brother's second and last album with Janis. She left at the end of the year to pursue a solo career and took Sam Andrew with her. That is, until he went back to Big Brother for a reform in 1969. Janis went on to form her Cosmic Blues band and released I Got Them Ol' Cosmic Blues Again, Mama, about a year and change after Cheap Thrills. And Getz and Albin would also jump ship from Big Brother and the holding company to go join Country Joe and the Fish. So what is the Janis effect? You could say the Janis effect is when you cover a song and it becomes way bigger than the original. In this way, maybe Hendrix's All Along the Watchtower is an example of the Janis effect. Please don't sing Piece of My Heart at karaoke. Please, you sound terrible. It doesn't matter how many tequila shots you take. Or maybe when the band struggles to keep the momentum going after the big lead singer leaves. Maybe it's the influence. Janis was a huge influence on Stevie Nicks. I'll get more into that whenever I cover Pearl. But I also hear Cheap Thrills era Janis in Amy Winehouse. Amy took the Brill Building pop template, Ronnie Spector's image, her hair and her way of dressing, and she added Janis's guarded but sweet charm on top of that. It had fantastic results. I wish both of them had lived longer. A Piece of My Heart duet with Amy and Janis might have happened, and it would have been explosive. But in my mind, the Janis effect is what Janis's legacy has become. I truly hate what the 27 Club does to a musician's legacy. I've talked about this in my Cosmic Blues video, but Janis the badass, sort of the veil that she kept over herself, swamped Janis the sweetheart, and I think this has a lot to do with Piece of My Heart. At the surface level, it can be seen as a packing my bags and leaving anthem. That's definitely what Irma's version was, and I interpreted Janis's version that way for a long time. But if you look closer at the both of them, Irma's is pure soul, and Janis's follows the blues tradition. Janis is kind of wailing her blues out, and Irma wears it with a more reserved dignity. Both are perfectly valid. I think the girl bossification, oh god, I just outed myself as a Zoomer by saying that, has a lot to do with her gravelly voice and that wail that she did so well. She would more readily be seen as America's sweetheart if she had the voice of a sweetheart, but her voice in some aspects is pretty masculine. That's one of the most intriguing parts about her as a performer. And it's that duality between the badass persona and the person that captivated people so well. The beauty of Janis is that she's tough on the outside to protect the soft on the inside. You get a lot of egotistical assholes in rock and roll, but Janis was not one of them. She opened her heart up and let people in, and that's, I think, why she still has the influence that she has today. Janis's performance on Cheap Thrills is maybe the single most influential female rock performance of all time. Tracing, the line of succession all the way down to the most notable female front women, there's always a piece of Janis in there. It's very rare that I get to touch on every song on an album, but with only 7 songs here, I could feasibly do that in the length of one Vinyl Monday, and that's really exciting for me. This album is super replayable. It's just 37 minutes of music, and it's amazing to me that Sex, Dope, and Cheap Thrills has so many songs when this is such a short record. Combination is a perfect opener. It's energetic, it's fun, and it introduces you to all the players. It gets stuck in my head. I think about this song all the time. The track following, I Need a Man to Love Me, is stunning. It's underrated as hell. Those percussive can't be nows and my favorite Janis ad-lib, I'm gone. That's Janis's personality bursting through the door. It's kind of pulled back more on combination of the two, but on I Need a Man to Love Me, she is front and center and will stay there for almost the rest of this album. Summertime isn't my favorite, but the guitar work is. The arpeggios in the vocal breaks are really nice. This is where I begin to notice how well Big Brother functioned as a unit. I struggle to pick out I really like this drum fill here, or I really like the bass line there, because it all melds together into one homogeneous thing. This is also where I see critiques of Janis's later groups coming into play. While I don't agree that the Cosmic Blues Band overpowered Janis's voice, I do think that they didn't blend as well as the Big Brother guys did with each other. As much as I rag on the cheesy fake live noises, I have a hair on me. As much as I rag on the cheesy live performance noises, Simon's production blended all of these musicians together really well. I always forget about Turtle Blues, but I really dig it. But oh man, the live audience noises on this song are really obvious once you know that Cheap Thrills wasn't live. It's one of those cases where you can't unhear it. It's funny that these sounds make Turtle Blues out to be at a bar or a saloon, because Big Brother was playing raucous ballrooms like the Grandy. To stick them in a bar is almost funny. It's hokey, but it's charming. Aside from the hokey bits, this is another great Janis vocal performance. That line, I'm gonna take good care of Janis, ain't nobody gonna dog me down, is more like she's convincing herself that she's strong rather than having to assure the audience that she is. Oh Sweet Mary's got some big Jefferson Airplane vibes. It does kind of get overlooked because Janis isn't singing lead, but it's still a good track. That strumming in the far right channel almost sounds like a sitar. Maybe that was the effect it was supposed to fill. It drones through the whole song, and it makes Oh Sweet Mary maybe the most psych tune on Cheap Thrills. I feel like this song would have made more sense had that 1 minute psych jam Harry also made the cut for the final track listing. If anything, Sweet Mary is an example of that San Francisco sound that got really popular in the Summer of Love and stuck around for 68. And somebody's leaf blowing. I gotta wrap this up quick. I didn't truly realize the power of Ball and Chain until I heard it in Big Little Lies, that I think it was Hulu series that Nicole Kidman was in. A great series, great soundtrack. I watched it when it first came out, and the scene that Ball and Chain was in, that's when the gravity of that song, the Big Brother performance of that song really hit me. James Gurley is underrated as hell. Add him to my list of underrated guitarists with Robin Trower, Roy Buchanan, Mick T, and Danny Kerwin. His solos on Ball and Chain are ripping hot. It's like the guitar is bleeding its heart out. It's visceral. He is the unsung hero of Cheap Thrills. The soloing makes every single track that it's on, as do Sam's. His lead guitar work on Piece of My Heart it bore the iconic Piece of My Heart riff that you can't escape through anybody else's performance of that song. Ball and Chain is my favorite song that Janis ever sang, and this recording that we hear on Cheap Thrills from the Winterland Ballroom is my favorite take of hers on it. It's superbly tender. That line about 6 minutes in, when she sings "All I Ever Wanted to Do Was Love You," after the onslaught that song is, that quieter moment, it sends chills up my spine. Her singing style was cathartic as fuck for both her and for us. Yes, Cheap Thrills was the mainstream's introduction to Big Brother and the Holding Company and their introduction to Janis Joplin, and it's a damn good one. But it's also what happens when a band is a damn good unit. Every musician is on par with one another, even if you have one that is very clearly the star of the show. But that's what every band needs. They need at least one guy, or one great broad, to be the one that plays to the audience. The Big Brother guys are perfectly in sync with each other, and Janis was the link between that force and us. For that, Cheap Thrills is a magical experience. My personal favorites on this one are a combination of the two: I Need a Man to Love Me, Turtle Blues, and Ball and Chain. If you want to keep up with my personal favorites, I have a Spotify playlist linked in my description that you can follow. I update it every week with all of my favorites from all of the Vinyl Mondays, even the ones that are from before I took this thing to YouTube. And that is it! That is Cheap Thrills by Big Brother and the Holding Company. What do you think of this album? You should leave a comment letting me know. I love hearing what you guys have to say about the records that I love. And if you like what I do here, you should like and subscribe to my channel. I post new episodes of Vinyl Monday every Monday morning at 11 a.m. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week for the Halloween special. Woo, bye! I need to get out from in front of this camera now. I'm losing my mind. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys next week. Bye! Make you feel like you were my only man. Hey, didn't I give you nearly everything that a woman possibly can? Honey, you know I did. And each time I tell myself that I ain't strong enough, I'm gonna show you